Hey everybody, how's it going? Mike from the Focus Garage here coming at you with another episode, and in today's video I want to talk to you guys about the 2023 Chicago Auto Show. Now, the show is going on right now when I'm filming this here, but I did get my kind of first little media preview a couple days before it opened up to the public. So I just kind of want to run you through everything that I took pictures of and maybe a little bit of video of and just explain to you what I thought about those vehicles and kind of just my thoughts of the auto industry as a whole and the kind of show circuit as a whole as well. This show, it was kind of unfortunate that most of the luxury brands were not there. So no Audi, no Porsche, no Lincoln, Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, even no Mazda are some of the ones that were not in the auto show circuit, at least at the Chicago Auto Show. So that was kind of a shock to me there. The big emphasis here was test drive events. So whether it was, like the Bronco or the Jeep stuff, climbing up little metal ramps and things like that, or just EV test drive events, because a big focus of this show was electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. So I'm going to kind of run you through everything I saw here, everything I took some pictures of, give you some quick thoughts on it, and we'll just kind of jump right into it. So first things first here, you can see we've got the new Ford Bronco Sport, aka the Ford Escape, aka still using the Focus and Escape chassis. I took a picture of this one because it is cactus gray, which is the exact same color of my Ford Maverick that I'll be getting, which is ironically also built on the same platform as well. So this is the Bronco Sport. It's one of the more off-roady editions. It's got like the rear diff locker and things like that. I believe it's the Badlands edition. Next up, we've got the Toyota 4Runner here with a retro stripe on it. And the funniest thing about this is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, yeah, it's a retro stripe, but that car is also like 13 years old at this point. I'm betting it probably in the next year or two, you're going to see this transition into kind of like the new Sequoia and Tundra drivetrain. But this is probably one of the final editions that you'll get of this generation 4Runner. Next up, I moved to check out the Ford Maverick. Now, ironically, as you guys know, I ordered one, I'm waiting on one, and I've never driven one and I've never sat in one. So being at the auto show was kind of my first chance to get to spend some time with the Maverick. This one here was a Lariat trim, so it's got the brown interior. But I just wanted to check it out, see its sizing in person, the build quality in person, things like that. So here's kind of the interior. And then we've got, the bed area here. It was fun to kind of play around with the tailgate in the multiple positions, check out the little cubbies in the bed liner, the slide rails, all that stuff. This one did have some miles on it, so the hitch had been used. It was pretty cool. Here again, it's kind of this yellow paint. This one's again the Lariat trim, so it's got the LED accent piece in the headlight, but that's kind of what that one looks like there. Something that I did not expect to see that we actually did end up getting at the Chicago Auto Show here was the new S650 Mustang. Obviously, this is a pre-production model, so this car's not out yet, but they did have two versions of it, both the convertible and the Dark Horse edition one there, which I'll show you in a minute. So they had this, and I thought it was really interesting with kind of that weird scoop in the rear of it there. Really, really striking to see in person, the way that rear end kind of has that V shape, the way it cuts in. Neat car, very, very evolutionary, not revolutionary. You could tell this is just another version of the Mustang, just kind of next generation type there. So here's the interior. I am a big anti-fan, not a fan of this, one single threaded screen here. I think it's two separate screens, but it appears as just one big screen across the dash. Not really huge into that. The more base models, it's a little bit more separated, but I don't know how to feel about that. Again, here's kind of the front view of it. Get more of a view of that car there. You can't pass some secret build quality tricks here without some felt. So this was on a current gen Mustang. Maybe the taillight was creaking or rubbing the body. They threw that on there. I found that kind of funny. Here is the new F-150 Lightning. Gigantic Tesla style screen in the middle there. Giant gauge cluster screen. The shifter folded down out of the way. Interesting vehicle. Just kind of wanted to see what this full electric pickup truck felt like inside. Here we've got a Supra in a pretty cool color. And this one did have the manual. So it was pretty neat to be able to sit in a manual Supra. Pretty nice place to be. Here's kind of an interior shot for you guys there, so you can see the carbon fiber trim, the brown seats, the manual shifter. Very, very good feeling shifter as well in that manual GR Supra. Here I am in the GR Corolla, and this one was one of the few vehicles that I actually went out to the auto show in the intention of seeing, because I had tried to secure one of these when Toyota announced that they were going to be making this car. Tried 10 different dealers. Everybody said they're either going to charge me with huge markup or they're only getting one and it's not for sale. So I figured this would be the closest I would get to ever, driving one or owning one. So sat in this, check this out in detail, and I don't know what to say other than the fact that the outside's beautiful. It's a very sharp looking car, sporty looking, but the interior, you're straight Corolla here. You've got a GR on the steering wheel and a leather wrapped wheel, but it is very, very much, Corolla. So here's the outside of the car. The interior is cheap. The headliner feels like cardboard. The dashboard's not great. It looks nice, but then you touch the materials and it feels bad. But here's the exterior. Very, very sharp looking car. This was the base model, so it didn't have the wing or the hood vents or anything like that, but I still think it's a beautiful, beautiful, sharp looking vehicle. Nice size brakes, nice size wheels and tires. It all flows very, very well together. It's a sharp looking vehicle. So nice job there by Toyota. Here's just a random front end shot I took of the Corolla Cross, which is in between like the RAV4 and other SUVs that Toyota has. And I just thought this was funny because this is one of those front ends where it looks like everything else. I mean, it's Toyota, but it looks kind of like the new Ford Escape, which looks kind of like the new Honda HR-V and CR-V. It's just that very, very NPC looking, bland front end there with nothing special to write home about, not offensive, and just, I don't know, it looks like every other crossover on the road there. Here we've got the current gen Mustang in a pretty sharp green color. Want to take a shot of this, like the way this looks. Wanted to check it out and sit in this and then compare it to the current generation Camaro. And here we have the Dark Horse S650 Mustang. So this is kind of like their top trim GT version goes before you get into the Shelby stuff. So this will have kind of more of that track focused features on it. It's going to have, obviously, you can see the crazy aero. This has some really, really sticky tires, some crazy offset, and they are carbon fiber wheels on this particular one here, which was very, very interesting to me. That'll be cool to see that make it to production there. Kind of a more track-focused spec Mustang. Here we had the new Sequoia, which overall I liked. I do like the idea of a updated, boosted drivetrain versus an old naturally aspirated engine. Something that I hated about this, though, is it had like some digital camo on these giant plastic fender flares. Not the biggest fan of some fake-looking thing like that on a $75,000 vehicle, but they've stepped it up in quality. It's a very, very sharp-looking vehicle. Nice update, nice drivetrain. Big fan of that. So here's just kind of a couple shots of what that vehicle looks like. Here we have the new Prius, and I actually did want to see this in person, which is pretty funny. But I'd heard a lot of talk about the new Prius and seen pictures online, and it's definitely getting more extreme in the way of styling. This kind of looks almost like a fake Model 3 Tesla. I don't want to say if it's good or not, but it's a big departure from the styling of the Prius past. Here we have another interior shot of the, I think it's either a Tundra or Sequoia here. Just kind of wanted to show, the way they updated it and changed it up here. It's the TRD version. Here we have another car that I wanted to see. We have the new Nissan Z. And I won't lie, the exterior of this car looks way better in person than I expected it to. But the downfall of this thing, man, is the interior. It feels like you are falling into a 350, 370Z when you step into this car, which is a shame because those cars are pretty old now. The exterior, though, looks pretty good. It's got some really, really kind of striking, sharp angles. The front grille's not as bad in person as I expected it to be. But the interior, man, it doesn't do the car any favors. In my mind, you'd be crazy to buy this over a Supra. A Supra is a superior car in every measurable way. Nissan's just kind of trying to make do with what they have since they don't have the same kind of budget as Toyota to partner with somebody like BMW to make a true GT sports car. Whereas this Z is just kind of, they're taking the engine that they've already got in Infiniti and they're slamming it in here. But I mean, it's a great looking car. I'd have to drive one to kind of let you know what I think about it to see if that helps for the underwhelming interior. But I liked it, but I definitely don't think I would own anything like that. Just a couple shots here of the interior just so you can see kind of what I was looking at. It's a sharp looking car, right? I mean, it really doesn't look that bad in person. Next up, we have Big Ultimate Energy. Just need to flash that on the screen there, so if you know, you know. The new Nissan Frontier. I was very excited and glad to be able to check that out. I think that's a pretty cool looking truck. That was due for an update really, really bad. So here we have the new Frontier. It'll be cool to see some of these on the road. I think they're hitting the streets already now. And then here's another car that I can't understand the way it sells so well, but it always does. This is the final edition Chrysler 300. So the car is finally done. They're taking the 6.4 Hemi, I believe, the naturally aspirated one, and they're putting it in here. It's like a $70,000 300C. It's not boosted or anything like that. Just, they threw some final styling tweaks on it. And for those of you that know me, I think it's absolutely hilarious that FCA has been managed to milk this chassis for so long. This, for those of you that don't know, is based off of a Mercedes-Benz E-Class from the early 2000s, late 90s. That is what the Challenger Charger rides on, and they have milked that chassis to death, and they are still putting brand new cars on it today. I think this marks the end of it. the Challenger and the Charger for the 2023, possibly 2024 model year. But here is your final edition 300C version of that. Another car that I wanted to see in person, and I don't really understand the way they're marketing it and hyping it, is the Dodge Hornet. Now this is funny because they're kind of pitching it like a go fast crossover SUV. They even have a GLH version that stands for goes like heck and YouTube sensitive. I don't even know if I can say the real word anymore. But it's a four-cylinder. It's a four-cylinder boosted SUV. You can't get this with any kind of cool, the straight six turbo that they've got or a V8 or anything like that. I mean, it's just a crossover front-wheel drive biased vehicle that you can get with like a 250 horsepower boosted four-cylinder. I mean, it's not a sporty SUV, but I bet they're going to sell the crap out of it because it looks sporty, and they'll probably have an RT version, and you can see this one's got some red stripes on it, and it's just, I don't get it, I mean, the last thing the world needs is another crossover, but here we are. We've got the Dodge Hornet GLH edition, and then another one that I wanted to see to get a feel in person of what these proportions looks like was their new EV prototype concept here. So here is what we've got, the Banshee, the SRT Banshee, which makes fake noises, and I don't know. I'm not going to spend time talking about that. Another final edition Charger here. This is like the King's edition or something like that. It's got hood pins, some kind of cool silver machine finish wheels, another wide body there. I feel like we've seen it all before. Here's another shot that we have of that Banshee. It's just that rear quarter proportion is so strange. I can't get over how that looks. And I took it from the side here. It's like a hearse mixed with a wagon, mixed with like I don't know what that is. It's not aesthetically pleasing to me. So I'll be curious to see what people think when they see it out on the roads. For those of you that want to see some info about it, here you go. Dodge Daytona SRT Banshee concept. And then here's another shot of the Hornet. And it's just, I don't know. It's just a plain SUV that looks sportier than it actually is. It probably drives like the Dodge Journey. The electric Ram, the Ram Revolution. Again, I don't have the stats. I don't really want to speak much to this, but interesting to see concept vehicles with little teeny mirrors and custom engraved tires, things like that. And then you've got the Alfa Romeo version of the Dodge Hornet, which is the Tonale. And as far as I know, I don't think you're able to get any kind of special trim in this either as far as engine goes. I think it's the exact same thing, just rebadged as an Alfa Romeo, which is what Dodge seems to be doing lately with stuff. So here you go. If you want to have a Dodge Hornet and pay $20,000 more than a Hornet, you can get the Tonail, as I like to call it. Wow, fancy headlights for a Italian-American vehicle. Here, love the Giulia. Again, though, this car has remained, essentially pretty much unchanged since its release many, many years ago. Awesome car, when you get it with the twin-turbo V6 and rear-wheel drive as it should be. Don't be buying this car with the all-wheel drive 2-liter 4-cylinder. That's literally a Wrangler engine. And you're just badge flexing at that point. Get the performance version of it and really enjoy the way this car was designed to be. Something else that I wanted to check out here, now that we're moving into a different part of Chrysler, which isn't going to be so ill-talked of me, is the SUVs. We've got the Grand Cherokee, the Wagoneer, the Grand Wagoneer. I've been seeing a lot of reviews and seeing some of these in person, and I've heard that Chrysler really, really stepped it up with these. And you know what? I can confirm. These are levels above what the previous generations were. Obviously, they didn't make the Wagoneer for a long, long time, but I mean, even the Grand Cherokee, it mirrors everything that the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer does. And these were very, very nice vehicles to be able to spend some time in. I checked out different trim levels, different pricing of them. And you can get them with a second screen on the dash for the passenger, air-conditioned consoles, like ambient lighting, soft touch materials, entertainment for the rear seats, anything you could think of. These were huge upgrades in build quality and just feel and touch and fit and finish and everything from the previous models in the past. You got the Macintosh stereo. It just very, very nice. I do applaud FCA for what they've done to those SUVs. They are competitive to everything on the market that they're in the same class of now versus feeling like cheap plastic garbage of yesteryears. These things are great. Switching scenes here, we are going with Subaru. So you can see that we've got some shots here of the new WRX, and I'll tell you, if you haven't seen one of these in person yet, it's just as ugly as it looks online and in videos. The plastic fender flares are disgusting. The squished headlights are not great. I don't like it, but what I do love is the power that these cars are making now. I've been seeing with bolt-ons and tunes, these things are able to make almost 400 wheel horsepower, which is pretty impressive. But you do have to do a clutch in it right away, similar to the way that you have to do with the Civic SIs and the manual GTIs. If you get the manual one of these and you modify it, you are going to need a clutch. But good power, ugly car, not a fan. And then I did want to check out the new 86s, the BRZ and the FRS GT86, whatever they want to call it nowadays. Ironically, Toyota did not have the GR86 there, but Subaru did have their new BRZ. I think these are very, very sharp looking cars. I'd like to drive one of these because I hear they drive much nicer than the previous generation, more kind of engaging, more sporty. I still wish they would offer this car with like a GT or an STI version that had the boosted boxer engine in it. I get why they don't, but it would be really, really cool to see something factory that is offered with that. I do like the refresh on that car. That's something that I would like to actually get some seat time in and drive one of them. BMW had a very, very small showing, literally like 4 or 6 cars. And I have a lot of pictures of this new XM SUV just because of how ugly I felt that it was. I mean, you've got these weird stacked tips, off-center badge, some of the strangest wheels that I've ever seen in my life. Here's kind of your info about it here. Just it's $160,000. Interior was pretty normal, you know, pretty like current gen standard BMW there. And just giant grille, weird little slit headlights. The sensor is just, I don't know. Like, it's just not something that's aesthetically pleasing to me at all. These wheels were so strange. The proportions were strange. The fender, it's not something for me. I mean, obviously I can't afford it, but even still. They had an M8 convertible with the carbon bucket seats. M8 Comp, actually. This thing was very, very sweet in a green color with the Comp seats here. There you go. I got M8 Comp with some carbon fire, crabs on fire, carbon core, and it's a really, really cool car. But again, I don't know how I feel about this new badge placement on the M cars. It just kind of feels like you had a repaint and the badge isn't in the right spot. Not sure how I feel about that there, but this was a very, very sharp looking car, a very, very cool Grand Touring car for sure. Something else that I didn't understand is the new Toyota Crown. I think they're doing away with the Avalon and the Crown's replacing it, but I felt like this was just a car for older people because it essentially was advertising its biggest thing as the elevated ride height. So it's like a car, but it's like the height of a crossover. Very, very like basic interior. Some weird stylistic choices with all this black, like all black hood, all black front bumper, black like trunk. Just very, very strange looking. To me, it felt like an Avalon on stilts, but it wasn't an SUV. It's like this car. I don't know. I'm not the customer for that. Next thing that we saw, and I was very excited to see this, was the new gen Civic Type R. Man, I like this thing. It's a very, very striking car. I like it much more than the previous generation. This thing is running some meats for tires. They had it in this very, very neat, I think supersonic gray color or something like that. This is another great looking car that I'd potentially even own. I'd want to drive one of these, obviously, but this is kind of one of those cars where it's like the pinnacle of front wheel drive handling and kind of like mechanical connection and feedback. And I think Honda did a fantastic job with the design cue and just kind of the updating of this gen versus the previous gen. Unfortunately, good luck finding one, and even better luck finding one without markup. There's another couple shot. The spoiler, just everything looks great. Here's another new release from Honda here. This is the new Accord, and what I found interesting about this is Honda's going the opposite way that they did before. Honda did some polarizing design for like the previous gen Civic and stuff like that. Now this gen is just kind of dumbed down. This looks very NPC to me. I like it. It's kind of a very sleek new generation. The rear end's kind of like Volkswagen Audi to me with those like weird LED lines in the taillights. Interesting vehicle, not really offensive or anything like that. Decent build quality, good price point. If you guys are looking for a midsize sedan, I think this is a pretty cool, offering from Honda here. Moving over from Honda to Acura. Acura had one of the final edition NSXs here. I think it was a very, very neat car to see in the flesh, since you don't get to see very many of these. This one had the carbon fiber, everywhere, the carbon ceramic brakes, carbon fiber roof, carbon fiber, aero in the front and everything like that. Very, very neat car, and it is also $190,000. So you've got to be an Acura Honda loyalist to buy this over a lot of other offerings like a C8 Corvette. Here we've got the Lexus, the LC. Big fan of this car as far as like from a Grand Touring standpoint. I think these have an insane level of fit and finish in the interior, like build quality wise. This one here, you can see it's finished in this nice red color, convertible nonetheless, and it's just really, really neat, cool styling with it. I love the infinity kind of mirrored LED taillights there. Really, really neat car. You got the 5.0 V8 in it. Just a cool kind of Grand Touring car to enjoy the engine noise and just chug along with. Something else I was very, very excited to see in person was the IS500, which is similar to an ISF. Same kind of drivetrain, but it's more toned down for like a civilian spec, so it's not as sporty focused. But again, you have a rear-wheel drive, 5-liter V8 sedan, which is something that doesn't really exist anymore. So the fact that Lexus is still offering something like this, I can respect and appreciate that from them. Beautiful car, beautiful color, decent interior, and it's just something that it's one of those things where if you want something like this, you better buy it because they're not going to be around for long. I mean, this is like the end of age of no hybrid, no EV, rear-wheel drive, V8 type of vehicle, especially in a sedan form. Lexus, why you got to do us dirty with the steering wheel yoke? Don't be Tesla. Do people want this? Who's asking for this? I don't understand. This was one of their new EV vehicles, and the saleswoman was telling us specifically to go out of her way and say, don't worry, you can get this with a regular steering wheel. The yoke is an option. I don't get it. Not for me. Not something that I'd want to do, but interesting. Beautiful green color on their full-size SUV here. Thought that was really sharp. Just wanted to snap one quick picture of that. Moving over to Kia, I did sit in one of their sim racing rigs that they had here of the EV6 GT, which was pretty cool. And then they had this in person here. I just wanted to take a picture of that just because I think it's cool that Kia and Hyundai, they're offering vehicles like this that are performance-focused EVs. You know, you've got obviously different versions of the Kia EV6 here, the GT, the non-GT, everything like that. But it was neat to be able to see this in person up close, sit in the car, and really check it out. Here is the Hummer EV. I know most people have not seen these in a color other than like white or gray, so here's one in black. Thing is just as big as you would think that it is. It is an absolutely massive vehicle. Obviously the T-tops are cool. It's got that signature Hummer look to it. Neat vehicle. I've heard they've had a lot of issues with the initial run of these that they've sold. But again, nothing that I could afford, so who am I to sit here and talk and complain about it? Something that Buick did that I absolutely loved was they had some crazy concept vehicle. And when I was younger and I would go to the auto shows, I would feel like the whole point of going to the auto show is seeing concept vehicles like this. This is the Buick Wildcat, and it's a very polarizing, custom, crazy style looking vehicle. It'll probably never make anything like that near production, but it was just cool for me to see something that didn't look like regular traffic at the auto show. I mean, this thing is crazy and wild looking. The rear kind of reminded me of the old Volvo C30 hatchbacks with these taillights that go up the pillar and everything like that. But just really, really cool. The angled roof that pops up. I mean, the interior, the screen, the open console that runs through the whole car, these bespoke aluminum pedals. Like, this is what the auto show used to be to me when I was younger. It's like these weird concept vehicles that initially, just come out to flex on everyone that later get watered down and built into like a production vehicle. But it was neat to see a brand like Buick bringing some kind of wild, cutting-edge concept to the show here. So that's the Buick Wildcat. I had to check this one out in person. You've got the new Lamborghini Countach, which isn't really new. It's just a rebodied Aventador, but it's $3 million. So if you're trying to buy a V12 Lamborghini, I think this is the last one you can buy. So go ahead and grab yourself one if you've got $3 million burning a hole in your pocket. Neat car. I don't understand the hype, but very, very neat that they brought back the Countach name for a very, very limited run to kind of send out that V12. Next up, we've got the Volkswagen ID4. I've been reading and seeing a lot about these. I wanted to just spend some time and check them out in person. The UI and the interior is interesting and not the greatest. I can see what a lot of the reviewers mean when they don't like the way a lot of the stuff operates in the inside of the car. It's not the most intuitive. I could definitely foresee them making some changes with it there. But overall, a decent looking vehicle from the exterior. I took a picture of the Taos / Taos / however you want to say that. We've recently added one of those to my household here. If you guys haven't seen the video on it already, we've got a 2022 Volkswagen Taos SE with the all-wheel drive. This is an SEL, obviously, in the picture here. Unchanged for the next model year. I'm betting soon it's going to get the facelift the way that the new Tiguan's got it here. They've had this for a year or two. I like to call this the squish face Tiguan because it looks like they took the headlights, pinched them down, and dragged them back a little bit there. So here we have the new Tiguan R line. It's just an appearance package. It doesn't get any kind of special power or anything. But I believe for like a regular mid-size crossover vehicle, it is a very, very sharp looking vehicle. It has no right looking that good for just a regular SUV. Next up here, we've got a Camaro. We're moving over to Chevy. This is a SS 1LE. And for the last few model years, we've been able to get the 1LE on the 2SS trim. When the 1LE first came out in this Gen Camaro, it was only available in the 1SS trim, so the more base SS trim. Now you can get it with the higher trim. And this is a sharp looking car. If I was cross-shopping this or a Mustang, I would be going with the Camaro for a driver. engaging, feel, look, connection to the road, everything like that. I think these are fantastic. I really, really enjoy these cars. And this is another one of those vehicles that I could potentially see myself owning. Also had to check out the variety of Corvettes that they had. So you've got the E-Ray, the Z06, and then the base C8 all at the auto show here. It was cool to be able to really check these out, sit in them, see them up close. And let me tell you, now that you can see a wide body one like on the E-Ray and the Z06 next to a regular standard C8 model, just like the C6 and the C7, you can really appreciate the difference between the wide body and the narrow body. Interesting move that the E-Ray comes standard with carbon ceramic brakes. That was pretty neat there. Also, interestingly enough, I found that 2 of the 3 Corvettes are all convertible specs and not the hardtop or the removable targa top spec. So that was interesting. I don't like that the way that convertibles hide the engine. You can't see it at all, whereas in the hardtop models, you get to see the engine bay and you get to see the engine. So that's kind of cool. They had this in this kind of off-white, green-gray color that's very, very popular nowadays. Here you've got the Z06 with all of the carbon. I mean, this had the carbon wheels, the carbon aero, just beautiful car, very, very sharp car. That flat plane crank engine is insane. What more is there to say? I mean, if I had unlimited budget, this car would definitely have a space in my garage. So jealous of any of you influencers out there that have got one as an allocation, or you've already taken delivery of one. I've seen some videos of it. This is the car to have if you are an enthusiast. I mean, it is essentially a bargain supercar in every sense of the word. And then I got to spend some seat time in just more of a base C8 with a higher trim interior. So Alcantara everywhere. Hate it or love it. That's up to you guys. Another car that I wanted to check out in person and really get to kind of touch and feel and see was the Hyundai Elantra N. So you can see here, this seat is very, very M3-esque with the illuminated N logo in the seat there with the leather and the kind of the suede, the microfiber. And then you got the exterior of the Elantra N here. Sharp looking cars in person. I like the styling. I like the proportions of them. I like the pricing of them, and I like what they offer. I mean, this car has been killing it as far as front wheel drive kind of budget bargain performance vehicles go. I've heard nothing but great reviews about this. I'd love to spend some seat time in this and experience one of these. I don't know where this came from. I know they had the Ionic 5. Well, here's the Ionic 6, and you can't lie that the rear end of that kind of wedge shape does not remind you of an older Saab. They just remind me of like the Saabs from the early 90s, the hatch with kind of the rear end like that. This one was finished in a pretty unique color. The LED taillights are cool. I kind of like that retro-esque look that they're doing to it. You can see here you've got kind of the pixelated look in the rear third brake light spoiler there. That's neat. They have this kind of Nardo color with some blue flake in it. I like it. I like that Hyundai is one of the first regular brands here that's really pushing EVs at like a affordable, regular consumer standpoint rather than having these cars like Tesla that are $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. Hyundai's really offering a wide variety of design and kind of vehicle placement for that EV, whether you want an SUV, a sedan, a hatchback. They're kind of bringing it all to market there, which is neat to see. And then finally, I wanted to kind of end it off here on the Chevy Blazer EV. This is another one, fully optioned. It's like, I think, 45 to 50 grand, something like that, where it's not cheap, but you're right in the ballpark of like the average price of a new vehicle now, which is $48,000. And this has like 300 miles of range. It's pretty quick. I think it's 0 to 60 somewhere in like the high 4 seconds, all-wheel drive, and it looks relatively normal. A lot of these electric vehicles feel the need to look like something so crazy and futuristic, and I can appreciate that this kind of looks just like a regular car that just so happens to be electric. So again, I am not somebody that's going to run out of my house and go purchase an EV in the next minute, but I do support and can appreciate electric vehicles like this, where they look like a more normal car and they just so happen to be electrified. And with that, that is going to wrap up my review of the 2023 Chicago Auto Show. It's been a long video here, and if you've stuck with me the whole time, I greatly appreciate you for checking out this video. I'm not going to drag this one out here. Just leave your comments and thoughts on everything that I covered down below, and I'll respond to them as quickly and efficiently as I can, and I will catch you guys in the next video.